It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
Welcome to the show. We have got all sorts of hunting and fishing for you today. After all, we are America's most widely distributed fishing, hunting, and outdoors show in the entire nation, and we are proud to also be airing on the American Forces Network. We'll start off with the hunting in just a minute. You're going to hear from Greg Wagner with Nebraska Wildlife and Parks. They've got a deer exchange program where hunters can donate harvested deer to recipients. We'll also get an idea of how the deer season is shaping up for both mule deer and whitetails in Nebraska this year, and let you know exactly how many deer you can harvest in Nebraska. I think you'll be surprised by the number. After we talk to Greg, we are going to talk to Ralynne Takeda. She is with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, and she's a longtime hunter, education, instructor, and coordinator for the agency. The topic is getting ready for archery season, things that you need to do to help you have a better hunt, and also some safety tips as well. After that, we are switching to fishing, bass fishing, as a matter of fact. We are heading to Boardman, Oregon. It's on the Columbia River in northeast Oregon, and it's a great place to go fishing for both smallmouth and largemouth bass. I was there last Sunday for the final weigh-in of the Bass Angler Magazine Pro-Am. There were 61 pro anglers and 40 amateur anglers that participated in the two-day event. And by all accounts, the fishing was very, very good. Lots of fish caught, to include a couple of whopper largemouth bass, one that weighed just under 7¼ pounds, the other one that weighed 7¾ pounds. And wouldn't you know, the number 1 and number 2 pro anglers were the ones that caught them. We are going to interview the top pro angler and the top co-angler, as well as a high school angler who just won a $100,000 scholarship to Simpson University in Northern California. This tournament attracted anglers not just from the Pacific Northwest, but also California and even Arizona, because in 3 weeks, they are going to be back to fish the BAM Super 60 series. And this tournament was kind of a pre-fish for all of them because they won't be able to fish again until just before the tournament starts in late August. We'll be talking to James Big Ed Everhart, the announcer for the Bass Angler Magazine tournaments, and a podcast host as well, about this tournament and upcoming tournaments being held by the BAM Bass Angler Magazine Bass Tournament Trail. Put it all together, we've got a great show coming your way, so let's kick things off with our first guest of the day. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we are heading to the great state of Nebraska. We've got Greg Wagner on the line. He is the Communications and Marketing Specialist with Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. We're going to talk a little bit about deer hunting and about a deer exchange program they have. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about deer hunting in Nebraska. I know you've got mule deer. I know you've got white-tailed deer. How are deer numbers looking as we roll into the fall season?
Well, we're looking lower than we have been the past couple of years. We've had extended drought here in the Husker State to deal with, but the silver lining is that we've had a pretty moist year this year, and that really helps our white-tailed deer populations, especially where we have densities of those along our rivers. But if you're coming to the Husker States, you're going to hunt harder, you're going to hunt longer for mule deer or white-tailed deer.
What are the limits for deer during a season?
Well, we have a lot of different options for deer hunting permits in Nebraska. Boils down to this. You're allowed to have 2 permits in Nebraska to take bucks and as many antlerless only permits targeting does, especially white-tailed does, that you would like to have. So you can have 2 permits, whatever configuration that turns out to be with all the options we have, to take bucks in Nebraska with our various seasons, and as many antlerless only permits as you want to buy targeting does, especially, again, white-tailed does.
Are these all over-the-counter tags?
We're in that process right now where they're all over the counter. They're either online, across the counter, or even the old snail mail if you want to use that.
I'll be darned. Well, that sounds very nice. So let's talk about the deer exchange program that Nebraska has. When did this go into effect and what's its purpose?
Yeah, this has been in operation probably, I'm going to say 10 years. I've been with Game and Parks 46 years, and we all sat around scratching our heads thinking, 10 to 15 years ago, we had so many deer, especially white-tailed deer in Nebraska, and we had hunters saying, well, I only, can consume 1 or 2 deer a year. I don't have a lot of other, people that really want deer, and we're sitting around the table, meeting, and we're like, hey, let's come up with a program that connects the hunters who are shooting a lot of deer to individuals who really want healthy, lean, wild game meat venison. And let's be the catalyst for this online through our website. And, we can put up the individual who has got extra deer, or especially people who want deer. And we've done it. And it's been one of the coolest things that we've done. We all looked at each other like, this is so simple. Why didn't we think of this 10 or 15 years ago? But it's been very popular, especially on the end where individuals want to put out their information to get deer. Our hunters are a little reluctant to put their names, addresses, phone numbers, and everything out there. Our landowners are too, but they'll connect with you if you put up your information if you want venison. I think one of the underlying benefits of this is the fact that we are connecting people who don't even hunt. They don't hunt. They would like to have some great venison. They've heard about it. They want to try it. It's connecting the non-hunting crowd, or maybe a hunter who can't get back out again, to those people that are in the field. Really a cool thing.
Well, I understand that the hunter does need to do a few things first before he or she donates the meat. What does the hunter need to do, and what does the recipient responsible for?
Of course, everything has to be legal. There's no question about that. You have to have the proper permits and stamps and everything else. And then we have a custody tag that we require here in Nebraska. That, of course, is right on that portion of the website. The custody tag, if people are scratching their heads going, what's that? It's the who, what, when, where, how, and why of harvesting that particular animal, harvesting that deer. So it basically gives us a trail to where that deer came from. And the individual receiving it will get that custody tag, and that will follow the deer meat eternally. So it works out really well. The custody tag is a simple thing that individuals can provide and have. And really, with the way our laws are set up, it's pretty simple.
So I know the hunter is responsible for field dressing the animal. If the recipient wants it completely butchered, how does that work?
Well, you can arrange what you want. That's the cool thing about the deer exchange. I have some hunters that are part of this that will actually meet the non-hunter at one of our wild game processors, our deer processors, and they will, pass along the custody tag information, and then the individual that's receiving it, they'll pay for what we call in Nebraska rough cuts, basic cuts of meat, and gift the deer over. They pay for the rough cuts, and the processor will let them know when that's done. Some people, they want to process it themselves. So that will be in the field. An individual will punch out their tag, and then they will check their deer. We have a check-in program, basically through internet, telecheck. They'll check that deer in and then arrange a meeting point, have the custody tag information, and then give that field dressed deer to that person to cut it up themselves if they want to do it that way. There's a lot of different things that can be done, but you got to follow the legal process. And our laws here are pretty basic, so you don't have to go through a ton of red tape. And it works out really well, and we've had no problems with us either.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic program. I hope some other states pick it up as well. You want to find out more, especially for our Nebraska listeners, just Google Nebraska Deer Exchange, and it'll pop up in a hurry. It'll take you right to the state website, give you more details about how you can sign up as either a donor or a recipient. Greg, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
And thank you.
This portion of the show is brought to you by our friends at Henry Repeating Arms, and they've got something brand new out. It is the Lever Action Supreme Rifle, and it takes lever action rifles to a whole new level. They have completely reinvented the lever action rifle here. For example, it actually comes with either a 5-round magazine to comply with certain state laws, or an AR-style magazine that will hold a whole bunch more ammunition. There's brand new, innovative iron sights, and it's also really easy to put a red dot or compact scope on top of it, too. It's lightweight, and it comes in 223, 5.56, and 300 blackout calibers with more to come. You can find out more about the Lever Action Supreme Rifle from Henry Repeating Arms, made right here in America, by going to henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com. Check out the Lever Action Supreme and look for a dealer near you.
When you buy a sharpener from WorkSharp, you aren't purchasing a product, you're making a very good long-term investment. Whether you're buying a knife sharpener for the field, a knife and tool sharpener for the shop, or have a knife sharpener on the kitchen counter, you'll find they are durable and will do the job of sharpening your knives and tools for years to come. Make sharp happen with WorkSharp at a sporting goods store near you and at WorkSharpTools.com.
Explore the Dalles, the hub where discovery and history come together. Whether the Northwest is your home or you're on an adventure, the Dalles welcomes you. Just 80 miles east of Portland is the perfect year-round escape with a community that cares about you. 300 days of sun, breathtaking outdoor recreation, and a downtown full of the unexpected. Oh, and the rich history that began before the Oregon Trail. Start planning at explorethedalles.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Archery season for both deer and elk is fast approaching, not just in Utah, but throughout the United States. But we've got a guest from Utah that's going to tell you about some prep work you can do to have a successful hunt this season. That would be Ralynne Takeda. She is the Hunter Education Coordinator for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. Ralynne, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's run through a few things here. We're going to start off with safety. And one thing in particular, tree stand safety. What are some of the issues that hunters have here that get them injured?
Falling out of the tree. A lot of them just try climbing the tree without any kind of safety system. And also they forget to, when they're purchasing a portable tree stand, you have to take into consideration how much you weigh, but also how much your equipment weighs that you're going to be having up in that stand with you. So you want it rated for your weight and the weight of your equipment.
And isn't there a strap that you should have on when you're in a tree stand as well to keep you from falling all the way down?
Yes, it's called a fall arrest system. It's kind of like a harness, and you attach it to the tree even as you're climbing up. And then when you're in the tree stand the whole time, you want to be attached to that, which is secured to the tree. And then to haul your equipment up, you want a separate line that you can then tie around your equipment and haul it up that way. You don't want to try climbing the tree with your equipment in your hand.
Makes perfect sense. Ralynne, anything else hunters should know when it comes to tree stands?
The only thing else I would mention would be, if you're planning to hunt on Forest Service or BLM land, is check with them on what their rules and regulations are for placing tree stands, but most of them have to be portable. They can't be permanent. You cannot put nails in the tree. You can't even put the screw-in pegs to climb up. Everything has to be portable so you can remove it and not damage the trees. But again, just check with your local Forest Service or BLM before you go out with your tree stand.
Next one. I know that you want to sharpen those broadhead arrows before you go hunting, but covering them is important too, isn't it?
Right. You want to keep them in a quiver until you're ready to shoot. You don't want to be walking around with an arrow knocked on your string with that broadhead open. I mean, you could slip, fall. We've had injuries here in our state, people walking with them, holding them in their hand. They slip and fall. They stab themselves in the leg. So there's just so many things you need to remember for your own safety, but let alone anyone you're with.
You're absolutely right. Now, the next one is sound advice, not just for archery hunters, but any hunter. Know your target in terms of exactly what you're about to shoot and what's beyond that target, too.
Correct. You want to make sure, number one, that there's not any thing behind your target. But I think a lot of people also forget what might be in front of your target. Are there trees hanging down that you can't see, say, in your scope of your rifle, or even when you're looking in your sight on your bow, that could affect how your arrow flies? If you hit a tree branch, is it going to knock your arrow off course, and then you're not going to make your good, clean kill? You want to make sure that, whatever's behind your target, that you're not going to hit something that you didn't intend to. So just make sure you're aware of your surroundings.
Let's talk about something else. And folks, there's a great article about this that I saw on the Outdoor Wire that you can find at the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources webpage. And this one's not in it, but I think you will probably agree with this. It's really important to get in shape before you start climbing ridges and mountains and going into the woods to go after deer and elk, isn't it?
It definitely is. I mean, if you take off on a, 2-3 mile hike and you haven't walked more than, 100 feet for the last year, it's going to be a rough hunt for you. You may, take a 40, 50, 60-yard shot at an animal, and then that thing runs for a couple miles, and now you've got many miles you've got to chase it to go get it and then bring it back and take care of it. So you want to be in shape before you head out.
You really do. And, so many injuries happen from folks that are out of shape. That's when you stumble. That's when you fall. That's when you twist the ankle.
Yep.
All these things quite often go back to the fact that you're just not in shape to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, talk about something else here. And this is kind of staying with prep work before the season. Target practice. I think everybody who has a rifle knows they need to sight it in before the season starts. But archery hunters need to practice too, don't they?
Right. And a lot of these people, both with rifle and archery, usually bring them out the week of the hunt and go out and try and practice. To me, you should be practicing all year long to stay up on that skill. So, you're not trying to cram in, a couple hours every night after work before you leave on Friday afternoon. You should be practicing all year long.
No, you're absolutely right. And folks, just a reminder, this is National Shooting Sports Month, and there are ranges all over the country that have got programs going to help you practice and hunt, no matter what kind of hunter you are. Next one, know what to do once you take the shot. So you've just made the shot, your arrow has struck that animal, it is taking off. What do you do next?
Wait. I think a lot of people get so excited that they jump up and want to take after the animal. But, wait, make sure that you made a good hit. If you just start right out after it, it's just going to keep running, and then that's going to take you longer to find it. So kind of wait for a bit, and then make sure you know what your laws are in your state on tagging that animal. Do you have to tag it right away? Where does it have to be on the animal? Does it have to be with the largest portion of the meat? Or, make sure you know the rules, the laws in your state on what to do next.
Let's talk about tracking the animal. Any tips that you would have?
I would make sure you're watching where that arrow hits. And then, again, give it a little bit of time. And then once you get down there to where you hit it, number one, I would tie some flagging on that area so I know where I'm starting. And then start looking for a blood trail and then follow that out. If it ends and you need to come back, you'll have your starting point where that flagging was, so you'll be able to keep coming back to the beginning if you need to then branch out and keep tracking.
That is some great advice. I've talked to folks about hunting and tracking for years, and I've never heard of that very simple but sound piece of advice about putting a flag where you start. I love that.
it helps.
Yes, it does. All right. Now, once you find that animal, you don't just jump in there and take a trophy pic, do you?
No, you want to make sure that it's down. Make sure that you give it a minute when you find it. Make sure you can tell that it has passed on, and then go from there. You got to remember, if it's, for the archery hunt, we're in the warm part of the year. You're going to need to get that taken care of quickly, get it off the mountain. You don't want that meat to spoil, so you want to be quick on getting that taken care of once you find it.
There you go, folks. Some great advice from Ralynne Takeda about how to prep for archery season that's coming up quick all over our United States. If you want more details, check out the article at the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources about prepping for the archery season ahead. Ralynne, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm Anthony Imperato, president of Henry Repeating Arms. Patriotic Americans are looking to protect and provide for their families now more than ever. Henry has over 200 rifles and shotguns to choose from, made in America or not made at all, and backed by a lifetime guarantee. Order a free catalog, decals, and a list of Henry dealers in your area. Go to henryusa.com or call 1-800-958-4993. Thank you, and God bless America.
John Kruse here, looking to improve your bottom line as a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts. You can do so for a very cost-effective price by advertising on America Outdoors Radio. I will tailor a marketing campaign for you, reaching hundreds of thousands of listeners every weekend, tuning into our show on 135 stations in 33 states. We've got a sponsor opening right now, so contact me through my website at americaoutdoorsradio.com, and let's talk about helping you. You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We are broadcasting from the BAM, Bass Angler Magazine Bass Tournament Pro-Am at Boardman, Oregon. And one unique thing they have is they have high school anglers who fish the Pro-Ams. And you can literally fish your way into a scholarship if you fish these Pro-Ams. And we're talking to somebody who did just that, won a $100,000 scholarship to Simpson University in Northern California. That would be Noah Nguyen. Noah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about your bass fishing pedigree. I understand you've been fishing as a high school angler and earning scholarships and more since you were a freshman.
Yeah, so I fished the TBF Nationals in Wisconsin back my freshman year, and this is actually my first year fishing the BAM Trail, so I've only fished these 5 tournaments.
And TBF, folks, that is the Bass Federation. They also have a high school program where they do offer scholarships. As a matter of fact, we just talked about this on our other show, Northwestern Outdoors, because a $100,000 scholarship is being offered to 2 high school anglers. They're going to win the Washington State Championship. But back to you. You're from California, down in the Bay Area. Have you fished up here before?
This is my first time, and honestly, I was surprised. I don't think I've ever caught this many fish in 2 days ever in my life.
How many bass did you catch altogether?
Probably around 120 fish over 2 days.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, as a high school angler, is it your dad that's driving the boat, or are you with a pro?
Well, when I'm fishing the high school tournaments, I'm fishing with my partner, which he has a boat. But for these ones, I'm fishing with a pro. I'm basically like a co-angler.
Gotcha. And I've got to ask you, so you caught all these fish. That is amazing, 120 fish in 2 days. Were they mainly smallmouth bass?
Yeah, I think I only caught one largemouth.
And how were you catching them? Were you close to the riprap on the bank? Were you out further, doing forward-facing sonar or what?
So I'm fishing off the back of the boat since I'm kind of like a co-angler, and basically offshore humps, just dragging a drop shot. I think most of the fish were like under 12 inches, but when the right quality fish bit, I had them.
Absolutely. So the drop shot technique is very effective. You're absolutely right. Let me ask what kind of lure you're using on your drop shot.
I'm fishing a roboworm in oxblood.
Okay, 4-inch, 3-inch?
I was actually fishing the 7-inch fat roboworm.
Wow, and that's why, even as a high schooler, you're a better angler than me. I never go above 4 inches, so there you go, folks. All right, well, this is just amazing. Now, you're only 17, so you've got a whole another year of high school and high school fishing to go before you go to Simpson University. Tell me a little bit about what you know about Simpson University.
I just know they have a great bass fishing team, and I'm really excited to fish for them. I know my competition, Caden and I think Jackson, are going to go as well, so it's going to be fun fishing with them.
Well, congratulations again on fishing your way right into college. And folks, this is something you can do too, whether it's through the Bass Angler Magazine BAM Bass Pro Tour, or whether you're doing it through the Bass Federation in a state near you. Check it out. Get that kid fishing, and you just might be able to pay for college like you did for your parents. Way to go.
Thank you.
Next up, we want to introduce you to the co-angler winner here at the BAM Pro-Am that took place at Boardman, Oregon. He's got a great big trophy. His name is Randy Marshall from Folsom, California. Randy, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
This is not your home water by any means. Folsom, California is a long ways from the Columbia River bordering Washington and Oregon, but you had some great success. How'd you do it over the last 2 days?
Yeah, this place is amazing. And in fact, my first day ever fishing it was Wednesday morning. I got fortunate on the Potholes Pro-Am that I drew Justin Campbell on the second day. And so I was looking for somebody. And normally I fish with Austin Sandman, but he was busy working with his business. So I called Justin and he said, yeah, sure, you can jump in my boat. So I got to spend 2 days with Justin Campbell before the tournament, which was super helpful because I came up here thinking this place was a bunch of rocks with smallmouth, and boy was I wrong. It's just a special place. And I got fortunate in that I drew Cameron Black on the first day, and he's a Super 60 angler and a guide on the Columbia River. And then I drew Austin Sandman on the second day, and he's a bass guide too who fishes here all the time. So I had really good draws, and combine that with the information I had from pre-fishing with Justin, everything just came together. I guess this was my weekend.
You're right about Austin and Cameron. Austin is a legend up at Potholes Reservoir, and he routinely is winning or nearly winning tournaments up there. And Cameron Black, I got to fish with him at the Potholes Pro-Am, and he is a very good stick and a really fun guy to fish with, too.
Fantastic. Yeah, normally I fished all above Boardman. Justin and I fished above Boardman, and then the first day Cameron took off and went the other way. So it was pretty windy, but went and saw, downriver, and, he's just fantastic. He's fantastic with live scope. I'm sure he puts his clients on a ton of fish, and he's a fun guy to spend a day with.
So how did you catch your fish? Especially from the back of the boat. It's not as easy as it is from the front of the boat when you're live scoping.
Yeah, so a lot of times I'm trying to do something just a little bit different. And the first day, he was live scoping in front of the boat, but we got pretty close to shore. So I picked up a spinnerbait because the wind was pounding on the bank. And I got very fortunate I think I had 3 keepers at the time. And I picked up a spinnerbait, and like my third cast, I caught a 4-pounder.
Wow.
Put it in a live well. My next cast, I caught one over 3 pounds. So then I caught a fish on my 5th cast. So at that point I had to cull, and I told Cameron, dude, pick up a spinnerbait because they're chewing right now, and so he tied on a spinnerbait and he started catching them, and, both of us ended up having a great day. Today was a little different, Austin was on a bunch of fish, but we locked. So it was my first time ever in a lock, and we locked up to Bub McNary to the pool up there. And I had 3 fish before I went in, and, he would say, hey, there's rock pile coming up, or hey, there's a fish drop behind the boat or whatever. And I was using a drop shot bait, Hazadong shad, and I was catching them hand over fist. I was catching a lot,
What was the total weight that you weighed in?
Almost 28 pounds, just under 27 and change. So I had 1432 the second day, and I had 13 something today.
And not only that, you've been fishing these Pro-Ams, and I understand that you're going to be the Angler of the Year as the co-angler.
Yeah, like I said, extremely fortunate. I was able to pre-fish for all the events, and I think I had a 6th place finish on Shasta. I think I was like 14th on Potholes, and then finished first here. So,
well, Randy, I think it's time you graduate to being a pro, because you got this thing figured out. So you're going to get a couple $1,000s today, I'm sure, and that'll definitely help you on the ride home back to California. So congratulations again on being the co-angler winner right here.
Thank you very much.
Finally, we've got the interview you've been waiting for. We have got the winner of the BAM Pro-Am here on the Columbia River at Boardman, Oregon with us. That would be Zach Schaff. He hails from Richland, Washington. He knows these waters well, and that paid off today. Zach, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, I know you probably really appreciate the $10,000 check you just won.
Absolutely. That's pretty nice. It's going to sound good in my bank account.
You actually fish down in this neck of the river quite often. Now, there's plenty of water to fish near Richland, Washington. You've got the confluence of the Snake River there, but you prefer it down here. Why is that?
This pool just fishes a lot more fun. There's a lot of fish in the river, and you can kind of do anything you want to do. If you want to fish deep or shallow, you can do both. So it's more fun. Generally, the fish aren't as big as in the Tri-Cities pool, but this one's a lot of fun, and so many fish doing different things all at the same time. So it's kind of a fisherman's dream.
Yesterday, day one of this shortened tournament, you came in second place with a 22-plus pound bag. But the number one guy, also a local angler, he had a 24.5 pound bag, and that included a 7-plus pound fish. So you had your work cut out for you today, didn't you?
Yeah, that was honestly a little demoralizing because he weighed in at the very end there and took both big fish and big stringer away from me. So it was good to, kind of go back at it today and try and do my best. I legitimately, until I was at the weigh-in tank at the very end, I thought I didn't quite have it. I thought I needed one more big one. So I was pretty stressed out a lot of the day, really trying to find one.
But you did find a big one, a really big one. In fact, wasn't it the biggest bass of the tournament?
Yeah, it was the biggest bass of the tournament, 7 3/4 or so, I think. And got that, mid-morning today. And that certainly let me relax a little bit.
No kidding. So how were you catching them the last 2 days?
Yeah, I kind of had a 1-2 punch both days. Today was much tougher, and I had to slow down and throw weightless soft plastics, Senkos, today to get most of my bites. Yesterday was a little bit heavier on the reaction side. I was throwing glide baits and topwater, which is a little bit of a dangerous game. But my Dobbins rods kept them pinned for the most part and got them into the boat. A lot of the bone S-Waver 168 got the big bites yesterday, and today was a Senko.
Well, congratulations are definitely in order. I think it's great that your wife came up here to see your big win. And yeah, you got $10,000 in the bank now. So do something fun with that, and I look forward to seeing you at the next bass tournament.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Do you love to fish? Do you love to eat fish? Well, if you do, you know how important it is to have something to keep things sharp. Now, in the boat, it might be something to keep your hook sharp, like maybe the pocket knife sharpener from Work Sharp, which also works just fine along with the guided field sharpener for keeping fillet knives sharp. So when it comes to cleaning those fish you catch for the day, you can get that done in a hurry. And let's not forget, back at the house, when you're preparing those fish for a meal, that's when you want to have a kitchen knife sharpener, and there's several electric ones available. You can find them all at worksharptools.com, which lists all sorts of both manual and electric sharpeners you can use in the kitchen, in the shop, or in the field. Sharp hooks and sharp knives make for a happy day on the water, so get your sharpener today at worksharptools.com or look for these products at quality sporting goods stores and hardware stores near you.
Let me introduce you to the Camp Chef high-pressure outdoor cooker line. We built this line of cookers with those summer seafood boils in mind. Whether you're looking to boil for a large group or just for the family, there's a high-pressure outdoor cooker built for everyone to enjoy. They come in 4 different sizes, from 30 quarts all the way to 100 quarts. Put that in perspective, that's 15 pounds of crawfish in the 30 quart and 50 pounds of crawfish in the 100 quart. So no matter how large your party is, you'll have the right tool for the job. These all-in-one kits include a high-output burner, a boiling pot, and a basket with a twist drain strainer for ease of use. Each cooker is equipped with an electric push-button ignition and a powerful burner for a faster boil. If you're looking for the right tool to take on your next cookout, the Camp Chef high-pressure outdoor cookers are for you.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medi-Share.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medi-Share and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were 0 problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in in with your need. That is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
What I keep telling people, people love MediShare, and they love saving money. A typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for MediShare. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE 40. 855-SHARE-40.
Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're going to wrap up the BAM Pro-Am at Boardman, Oregon with an interview with the MC. And you heard from him recently. That's right, it's James Big Ed Everhart, very talented announcer and MC and tournament angler himself. James, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Last time we had lots and lots of technical difficulties that were not of your making, and I now have a new mixer, and those have been solved. But we're recording this right at the tournament weigh-in. And what a tournament it was. It started off not so good on Friday.
Yeah, Friday came up. The wind came up really bad. We ended up having to make a decision to cancel the tournament, which we don't take lightly at all. We came out here, watched that water, saw that water, and I think if you asked any of the anglers that were out there, they said thank you very much, because that was a bad day on the water out there.
Well, and that's one thing about the Columbia River, especially in the gorge and in this area. When that wind gets going, it really gets going. You can easily have like 40, 45 mile an hour gusts, and it's just not safe to be fishing in those conditions.
Oh yeah, it was a good tournament out here, and despite it, just because, yes, we canceled Friday, but we made up for it with Saturday and today. But everybody made championship Sunday, let's put it that way. So that was a good thing for those guys. We didn't have our cut day, which would have been yesterday, Saturday. Normally we cut from our 65 boats that we had. We would have cut down to 10, and then they would have had to come up here, which makes it a little bit of a different weigh-in, but that's all right. We made it work. I think it went smooth, and it ended up being a great tournament.
Well, it was a great tournament, and you had 61 boats up here, and I couldn't help but notice the number of not just pros, but also co-anglers that were here from California.
Yeah, we have a lot of traveling anglers. This is one of those ones that when we instituted the Travelers Division this year, what it did was there are a lot of guys that want to fish that Almanor Championship, and they're from California, a lot of them. And we had guys coming from all over the place, but yeah, there's a lot of guys coming up from California, Arizona. That was always amazing to see those guys come up. And yeah, in a couple weeks, or 3 weeks, we'll be back up here with the Super 60. We got guys coming from all over the West Coast for that one.
Right, and I was talking to Mark Lassane about this earlier, and he pointed out that a reason a lot of these California anglers are coming up here that are on the Super 60 is because you're basically cut off from fishing here until the tournament starts, in just a short month from now.
Correct. Yeah, it gets cut off, and they have closed. They can't do anything, so they come up here and be a part of this as much as they can and see this waterway. And everybody knows that, fishing changes from day to day, week to week, hour to hour sometimes. So seeing it this early really doesn't give them a great advantage, but for a lot of times it gives them areas and things they can come actually look at and see and take advantage of the time they can fish.
The Pro-Am that you had up at Potholes Reservoir in eastern Washington, it was tough fishing. It really was. But I talked to a number of anglers here who said they weren't all big, but you just kept catching bass and bass and bass and bass. The fishing was great.
Here on the Columbia, yeah, we actually took Friday and we went down a pool. We took an hour, went down to the Dalles, and actually had a few of us, 5 boats went out. It was amazing fishing. Yeah, it was absolutely great. Didn't catch anything giant like, the 7-pounders we saw come across the stage today. But, we did catch a couple 3s and 4s, and they were right there. It was really good fishing. And it's always amazing to me when I come here how the amount of smallmouth bass and how aggressive they are. I threw chatterbaits all day long and just had some great fish come up and just smack it. And if one dropped it, there was 3 others there to grab it. So it's a great fishery. I'm glad we come here.
Now, Zach Schaff, who's a local angler, won it all, and he did it with largemouth, and he had a toad of a largemouth.
Yeah, he had a 774, I believe it was, and, that was a heck of a weight. I felt a little bad. Gary Poston, he sat in the hot seat all day long. From the very beginning of it, he sat there, and the very last angler came up and swiped it from him. So it was a really good event. If you watch it on our YouTube channel, it was amazing. It was an amazing weigh-in. It was a great way to see it, and a lot of anglers came across here with some good weights. It should be a great fishery in a couple of weeks.
So what is the YouTube channel for Bass Angler Magazine?
It's bamtrail.com.
All right, bamtrail.com. That's the website to go to. Now, are the Pro-Ams over at this point?
That's it. That's it for all of our Pro-Ams. We have the Western Swing. I know I always forget what we name these things. Mark named them. The Western Swing of the Pacific Northwest Division. And yeah, this is it. This was the last one. So next we just have championships.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. If you are interested in tournament bass fishing, fish as a co-angler like I did at the last tournament. You're going to learn so much from these pros that you're with. And that's something I heard from several co-anglers today that I was talking to during the weigh-ins. And Randy Marshall, he said he'd never fished this before Wednesday. Fished a couple days as a co-angler during practice days, and then he knocked it dead as a co-angler. So here he is, never fished this body of water before, but he ended up cashing a $2,500 check.
Yeah, Randy's been doing this for a little while. He came up here, never seen this water before, got behind some really good anglers, learned a lot, and he'll be one of the first ones to tell you that he always learns when he goes out behind these great anglers. And yeah, he took home the championship, and he is the co-angler champion up here. So he did a great job, and $2,500, that's a nice little paycheck right there.
It certainly is. I also like the fact you pay down 10 places in both the co-angler division and the pro division. And folks, this, like I said before, is really high level. It is the premier bass tournament trail on the West Coast at this point. So get involved either as a spectator. It's a lot of fun to watch these weigh-ins and a lot of fun to watch the blast-offs in the morning. And if you're an angler at all, come on out here. Consider joining as a co-angler. If you've got a boat, you think you're a good stick, join as a pro and fish these tournaments next year. So you're going to be back here for a Super 60 tournament at the end of August, and then the championships next?
Yeah, so we have the Super 60 up here on I think it's August 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And then, yeah, we have the championship after that on I believe, the California Delta and Lake Almanor. Those are our next two championships after this.
All right. Well, if you want to find out more about those, just go to bamtrail.com. That's BAMtrail.com for the Bass Angler Tournament Trail. It is a great trail. You definitely want to follow this. It is, again, the premier circuit on the West Coast. James, thanks for sharing all of this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out and showing off the BAM Trail.
Stepping away from the marina at Boardman, Oregon, it's time for one of my favorite segments.
It's record fish time.
This time around, we've got not one, but two record fish to tell you about. The first one was caught in Lake Havasu in Arizona. From Outdoor Life, we learned that Joshua Daniels was out fishing with his fiancée and looking for bedding panfish. Well, there was a lot of folks that were fishing in close, so he decided to go about 100 yards off the bank. Daniels had forward-facing sonar and noticed a large fish close to a creek mouth. It was holding on a flat near a sunken tree in 15 feet of water. Daniels, a 42-year-old Phoenix resident, said, "It was a big sonar mark in deep water that I figured was a smallmouth bass." He continued, saying, "I cast a micro jig with a small piece of earthworm attached to it with ultralight tackle. I let it sink to the bottom where the fish was holding, but nothing happened. So I twitched the 1/32 ounce chartreuse-colored Berkeley atomic tube lure once, and the fish took it." Daniel says the fish fought hard and deep, and he still thought it was a good smallie. But 4 minutes later, using 6-pound test and a long 7-foot 9-inch rod, he brought the fish to the surface where he saw it wasn't a bass, but a giant red ear sunfish. Daniels got the fish in the boat, and it just so happened he has a measuring board and certified scales in his boat. Who does that, you ask? Well, Daniels is the owner of Pro Bass Adventures, and he actually has caught several state and world records during his lifetime, so he always has them ready in case it happens again. The red ear sunfish measured 16 inches long with an 18-inch girth and weighed 4 pounds, 12 ounces, which would have been a really good smallmouth bass. Daniels ended up releasing the trophy red ear, and he later submitted paperwork to the Arizona Game and Fish Department for a catch and release record, and that record was approved by fisheries staff on June 19th. Our second record fish story comes from the Outdoor Wire, where we learn the Maryland Department of Natural Resources has officially recognized Jack Dorman of Mount Airy as the new state record holder for false albacore in the Atlantic Division. Dorman's 26-pound catch surpasses the previous record of 23.5 pounds that was just set earlier this month, which also broke a 30-year record. Dorman, who's 22 years old, was fishing offshore near the Jack Spot and the 20-fathom line on July 20th aboard the charter boat Game On. Captain by Scott Stapleford out of Ocean City. It was actually Dorman's first offshore fishing trip, and he was hoping to catch a yellowfin tuna. But the record-setting false albacore was the first fish he caught that day. The fish was weighed on a certified scale at Sunset Marina in Ocean City and certified by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. Joshua and Jack, way to go on reeling in some real records.
Congratulations on your new record.
And on that note, it's time to go. If you didn't get to hear the whole show, we will upload it as a podcast. Just look for America Outdoors Radio. And until next time, here's hoping you're healthy. Here's hoping you're blessed. And do remember this. It is your country and your outdoors. So get out there and enjoy it.